Welcome back, everyone, to FOF Season 7, the final season and the final game of tonight here in Week 6. We're Adam and Anti once again as Oversoul Esports Incarnate and Art of War Esports fight to see who will end this week in first place. Both of these teams at 11 and 3 should be the marquee matchup for us tonight here. Anti, how are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a very interesting one. Both of these teams have been playing absolutely phenomenally lately. And the biggest thing to note, right, is these two teams, while they might be sitting at the top of the standings, have such incredibly different play styles. A lot of the time, it's really just Swifty just running across the map while Limster just solos top lane. But Art of War Esports Trolling You is an incredibly strong top laner. So I don't really see Limster just kind of rolling over him the same way that we might see Limster do to other top laners. Meanwhile, Maokai going to be picked up immediately for the side of Oversoul Esports. And the biggest question here is, what do you do against a mid? A mid has had so many different roles, so many different picks, right? That it's a question of, if you're playing against Art of War Esports, how is it that you're going to be really, how do you call it, scouting for it, right? The Rise is still open, right? There's so much that you have to be careful about, but Irelia and Jace already taken off this table for the side of Art of War Esports. The interesting Aatrox takeaway from Trolling You, considering that this guy's been a very strong Aatrox player for so long, I'm surprised that Art of War Esports let it slide.
Yeah, and Aatrox, just one of those champions you can slam down and say, hey, fight me, in a lot of ways. And of course, the answer to that Maokai was this Xayah as well as the Sejuani, staying with these tankier junglers, which interesting to note, considering what we've seen at the highest level. We've seen Ivern pop up a decent amount. There's still some carry-ish junglers around in the meta. Kindred is definitely one that still has a spot, but Kog'Maw now gets locked in for what could be Lifrith in the mid lane or Matstat on that bot side, and the Pantheon as the answer. This is once again a draft where everything is a little bit all over the place.
Yeah, honestly, right now, you've got the Milio taken away. You've got the Rakan taken away. Hold on. All right, Oversoul Esports are absolutely just throwing out gauntlets to say, we know that's not a Riri on Pantheon. There is no shot that's a Riri on Pantheon. We're still going to be banning supports out here, and knowing that, Pantheon could very well be going over to Trolling You, or a mid, they still are doing that. And all right, there's their re-rel. They called it out. They knew it. They knew there was no chance in hell it was going to be a Riri on the Pantheon. But the Trundle pick for Sejuani, so important. I'm so surprised that Art of War Esports just did not really see an issue with it.
And an interesting thing to note now is Malphite goes up into that top lane. So now, forces Art of War to say, are you going to put that Pantheon mid lane? Where are you going to, because we're just going to follow you around with the Malphite. We don't care who plays what lane. Now, basically forcing a mid to either accept the fact that they're laning against an Aatrox now, or pull something else out here. Granted, this is an excellent pick now, because you look at these ultimates that you can steal. There's two major ones that I look at. You've got the Malphite ultimate, the Unstoppable Force, and the Maokai ultimate. You've got so many options. Well, two options, but they're very good. Both of them.
I'd actually argue that you have. I'd argue that you have three, because that Trundle, which is honestly, a very strong ultimate, now means that if Oversoul Esports have two tanks, they're probably only going to have one tank, really. Then they have one less, right? And that's so important for the side of AWE to really punch through this front line. That Silence pick, so good here. The question is, right, are you going to get Trollzing fighting the Aatrox, or are you going to be having the lane swaps from Art of War Esports?
Yeah, and of course, something that we also missed very briefly in that draft is the fact that the Trundle was picked up after the Maokai was already picked. So this is a Maokai support now, and I start to worry about Matstat on this bottom side, because Kog'Maw is great with enchanters. Kog'Maw can get punished heavily by this bot lane of Xayah Rel when there's no enchanter to keep you safe. There's no Janna Tornado to come through. There's a Maokai Q knockback, but it's not as reliable as something like a Tornado or a Lulu buffing you up the entire time. It can be such a crux to deal with that as a mid. Spots out a couple of members here. This could get really dangerous really fast. The Swifty, Abscond Abduct not quite going to land. Swifty just gives over 11 gold, a virtue of first strike. That'll be all she wrote.
Yeah, and Amid going to be taking that top lane into Lifrit's Aatrox, it seems. I don't know. I guess they've scouted things out. And Amid now going to be lane swapping. Oh my lord, here we go.
Yeah, they're just swapping back and forth. And something to note about these deep wards specifically is that they might be able to spot out where these rotations go. But of course, you pick the Pantheon to go into that Aatrox. Amid not even going to miss out on too much. They might have missed out on 1 XP worth of minions. Dancing a little bit there to say, hey, we read you out. And Trollsing going to be very happy with this top lane matchup now, considering it's not Malphite. You know what? It's the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, it's not Malphite. And more importantly, right, this Pantheon having Ignite actually does not care as to whether or not it's Ignite or Teleport, right? Because Pantheon famously, has the ultimate, the grand Skyfall, just going to be able to go ahead and get anywhere on the map. I don't even remember if that's the name of the ultimate.
I think it's Grand Starfall now.
Starfall.
It used to be Grand Skyfall when he had the big circle pizza thing, and it was really silly because you just see this big circle show. It was like it was super low res as well. There's be
the super low res circle with the 100% AP ratio.
Yeah. Now Grand Starfall. He throws the spear down as well. So he's an aspect now. It's cooler. It's cooler, but it's not as funny, and sometimes funnier is better. As a mid and oh my goodness,
bring back Pizza Feet Pantheon.
Limster. They take a little bit of damage both ways, but Crim's now here to spoil the party in between a boar and an escaped convict. You cannot escape if you are a rock. The hard place was the rock in that situation. First blood goes down as Music Boy taking a lot of damage. Ariri going to try and keep him safe as well. Swifty tries to make something happen on the opposite side, is not successful in doing so.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to try to make something happen as the jungler, but sometimes, it's too little too late, right? Sometimes it's a double melee lanes with a Sejuani, and honestly, the biggest thing here is you have to really watch how Trollsing you plays into Lifrit. Oh my god, a flash forward from Freedom Potatoes and Music Boy in a lot of trouble. No sums, no health, and no more available CS for the side of Music Boy, as this wave's going to get dumped directly into the tower. So good for the side of, Oversoul Esports.
Yeah, Oversoul Esports Incarnate taking advantage of the summonerless Music Boy flash forward from Freedom Potatoes to shut that one down. Starting to keep things as close as possible. Crims, though, still looking to make some action happen. And once again, Sejuani plus a melee top laner generally leads to some pretty successful ganks, as we saw in the mid lane with the mid on that Sylas as well. But nonetheless, thus far, just sort of feeling things out on this top side. A little bit of damage being traded back and forth. Trollsing sort of getting the better end of these trades. I lied. Lifrith just turns it back around. So much damage dealt the opposite way. But with Crims in the area... Lifrith needs to be careful with this one. Swifty's here as well, so it seems as if the play will simply fizzle out.
Oh, wait, but they don't know. They don't know that Swifty's here.
Oh, no. Crims is about to find out in a very bad way. Oh, never mind. It wasn't a bad way. Just a passive pop, then everyone's going to reset.
Just a quick reset, but crucially, Trollsing you not able to hit level 6 yet, and that's really, really important for the Pantheon, because when you do take the Ignite, the one thing you're missing out on is the ability to TP back to lane to reset, right? Until the Grand Starfall is available, it's going to be really, really hard to match that teleport pressure.
Yeah, and of note, as this lane progresses, Aatrox will get stronger and Pantheon will tangibly get weaker. Pantheon notably a very weak late game champion, just sort of falls off the bus, and you got to keep that in mind. But Freedom Potatoes is not going to fall off the Music Boy bus right now. Mattstad dealing a boatload of damage, but now the fight starts to turn around. Great crash down coming through from Ariri. No dice as of yet, as both of these AD carries going to be able to stay alive. But Music Boy on the worst end of those trades. Freedom Potato's not in a great spot, though. Not really in the lane right now, but no punishment to come down.
Yeah, I mean, we are worried about this Maokai for the Kog'Maw earlier, but it really seems that Mattstat's the one getting the better of the side of AWE Esports. You know, Mattstat's the one with the item lead, with the gold lead now, and it's getting to be very, very worrying for the side of AWE as to whether or not they can actually take out the Kog'Maw.
Yeah, and this Kog'Maw, despite being in a little bit of an obscure lane, the Kog'Maw Maokai, not quite a combination that we were expecting tonight, doing quite well. Music Boy's had to struggle to stay alive in this lane, and now Crims is on a ward. Once again, Swifty is out of vision, out of mind, and this could evolve into something a little bit deeper. Swifty could even move up into that lane bush if they so desire to make something happen. Don't think anything will become of this one. Everything fizzles out. Crims notices at the last second, I was on vision the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, but that's a great amount of, you know, awareness coming out from Quims there. You know, not going to be overly committing, not going to be trying to force something where he can't, you know, just going to be able to pick up a little bit of XP, but not drain enough to get his lane behind.
And now, as this game starts to evolve a little bit more into the mid game, we have to look at these objectives. And thus far, none of these teams have even looked at Dragon. They haven't even sniffed at it. They've said, nah, not interested. Not going to be looking for any of that action. Music Boy, though, believe might have been stopped on their recall, and now sort of stuck in this lane at half HP. Not the best of situations. Krems once again forced to sort of babysit this lane, prevent anything from going Ari on this bot side. And with this Maokai, you have vision control, very strong vision control in the form of your saplings to really prevent anything fatal from going down. Lord. And that might just be too late. Music Boy taking so much damage. Here comes Trollsing on the back end of this. Freedom Potatoes will go all the way through the turret as a Riri clears that one out. Trollsing on this bottom side of the map. Grand Starfall not going to find anything, but a mid will find the kill onto Limster on the top side of the map. And now looking for potentially even more against Lifrith. Happened off screen there as they keep duking it out on the top side of the map. But despite that ultimate from Trollsing not landing, it ends up going in favor of AWE.
Yeah, I mean, and Trollsing going to be able to pick up the minions in the mid lane. So, like, a mid and Trollsing, honestly, you know, got the better of that. You know, it might have not amounted to too much, but it didn't amount to much lost, right? You know, Freedom Potatoes, on the other hand, playing hot potato with himself, you know, running straight through the tower, taking out Music Boy just in time, you know, making things very, very difficult for the Xayah. You know, you're definitely not expecting the tree to really get mad at you for roosting, but this time around, Maokai is here with a vengeance, and he is here to play.
And of course, gonna continue this pressure from AWE at the very least. They want to keep that pressure up. Amid has had a fantastic time thus far this game, once again. And Amid's an interesting player in my eye. Sort of filled in for Art of War Esports halfway through last season as an AD carry. Had some very strong performances, but thus far in the mid lane has been standout. I dare say could be one of those top-level candidates for MVP of this season, because they've had a fantastic time. This teleport's going to get stopped up as well, although Amid may have just been baited into the grave here. The caster curse comes true. We talk about his MVP resume and immediately gets taken down in a twist of fate.
And just like that, oh my lord, that's the first time I've ever seen it. Limster going for the Ultra Giga Chad Super Hyper Bait. Going to make sure that Amid goes straight in to cancel the TP, and it immediately turns into a dead Amid.
Yeah, now on this top side, Trollsing not going to be in any better shape. It's a couple of ultimates expended for the Pantheon, but it ends up paying dividends. Now Lifrith, though, in trouble. World Ender coming through on both sides. Amid will be able to chase this one down, gets their revenge as Lifrith falls to the ground. But nonetheless, Oversoul Esports have continued to push advantages in their own right, and despite Limster's slow start to this game, they picked up a couple of kills for themselves. They're feeling pretty happy.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, definitely for, you know, if you're picking up kills this early on for a team that ends up being ridiculously hard to deal with later on, you're going to be more than happy. And wait, Okay, hold on. Is that Stridebreaker Aatrox? Huh.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen a Stridebreaker Aatrox before. Um, I mean, I will say Stridebreaker itself has been getting a lot of popularity lately. You know, it's a very strong item. Having more AD than Core Drinker, always going to be happy to have that. And you're going to have a ton of healing once you finish the Ravenous Hydra later on as Aatrox anyway, so it shouldn't really be an issue. It's a very interesting choice of items here. You know, Trollzing has basically essentially been, you know, rushing this Chempunk Chainsword, right? And I'm not really sure if that's going to turn into the full-on Chempunk just yet, but, you know, that early healing reduction on top of the Ignite might be a little bit overkill, honestly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what ends up coming through in terms of that build, but unfortunately for Lifrith, we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Taking a lot of damage, going under the tower, the Ignite will not finish them off, but Lifrith limping away with that one. Trollzing's not going to do it. Nah. They're not going to opt to go for that. But on this bottom side of the map, Freedom Potato's taking a lot of damage. Amid stealing away that unstoppable force, it is enough to clean up another one. Freedom Potatoes will be able to escape with their life after using that ultimate. But nonetheless, Amid still chasing this one down. The long chain not quite going to land. But nonetheless, Amid finds their 4th kill of the game, showing up in a huge way for the side of Art of War Esports. Now in this mid lane, Crims and Ariri, absolutely no damage between them, but here it comes with Trollzing. Crims will fall for the cause, but Swifty is sure to follow here. Trollzing has no mana, as you mentioned, and now in a lot of trouble, will be taken down by Limster. And now, finally, the fight may turn as Freedom Potatoes is here as well. There's not enough damage here for the side of Art of War Esports, as Ariri is the next to fall as well in a mid in a 1v4. Absolutely no way to get out of this one with no ult to hijack quite yet. Might be able to find one at the last second here. Will be going back in onto Limster. Swifty will fall. Freedom Potatoes will fall. What just happened?
I have absolutely no idea. Right now, you can see that the last minion is going down, and Lifrith having slightly too much move speed means that you cannot, you know, really find yourself in that scenario just yet. While Swifty right now just able to get on out of there. You know, they greeded out just a little bit for that extra plate, and they're going to be doing just fine. And right now you can see Music Boy just continuing to, you know, pull out just again and again, you know, just clearing out all this vision.
Yeah, it's such an interesting game because Oversoul Esports have just showed up with being able to survive in the chaos. And I think that's an aspect of Art of War that almost doesn't come to fruition. They're a very clean, well thought out team from time to time. Of course, they still have their fiestas, they still have those sort of games, but for the most part, they're a team that come off as a very calculated team. And when you just hit them with the utmost aggression and crazy fights and who knows what, and coin flips everywhere, sometimes you just get the best games imaginable. Freedom Potato is going to try and get out of this fight, but look at this. Lots of damage on the opposite side of mid. Not going to be able to land that Malphite ultimate. Now Mid's caught out, and Mid's going to be taken down. This time by Freedom Potatoes, a shutdown given over to the Maokai. This seems to be a dragon picked up for the side of Oversoul Esports. They are going to take that one to the bank and continue to pressure the side of Art of War Esports.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely going to be phenomenal for the side of, you know, sorry. Let me recollect myself. You know, one thing I just have to note, right? You know, this soul is actually so good, and it's not even for the dragon itself, right? You know, we already saw just how much work the Cloud Soul can do for the side of INT in the last series, but the biggest thing about it is just the Cloud Rift itself means that people can get around so unbelievably fast, and when you can move around your pieces this fast to protect your singular Kog'Maw, you know, the single champion that's supposed to be the one doing all the damage, when you have this beefy of a front line, it means that Matt Sat gets to sit back and chill out because there's so little that you can do when Kog'Maw has so much standing in front of him. Like, who's going into the back lane here? Like, A mid is the only one who can feasibly make it to the back line outside of a god flank from Ariri. But it's so much that you have to throw directly into the side of Oversoul Esports that Art of War, you really need to find their picks. They really need to start goon squatting it up, because if you play the honest front to back, it's going to get so much more difficult.
I mean, this game's already looking quite difficult for the side of Art of War Esports. Music Boy hasn't really been allowed to spread their wings thus far. A mid is all of their kills. 5 out of the 7 kills are in favor of a mid, and as we saw in that last fight, sometimes you just can't do anything. Sometimes you're stuck between the Rock and the rest of the team. Quite literally rock in a hard place there. And you can't always survive by the skin of your teeth as they did in the early stages. Now, Trollsing, who is behind in this game as well, is going to be under pressure from the Malphite, from the Trundle, getting chomped. Everyone is here to play. Trollsing with a great little shield, but unfortunately not enough, as Limster is a big, beefy boy, will be able to take another kill for themselves. And continuing this trend from Oversoul Esports that they are going to find fights on their own terms. Amid now in a boatload of trouble, going to be shut down by that unstoppable force. Will try and turn it back around, but there's not enough damage to supplant it. Lifrith gets their revenge. Stridebreaker Aatrox is here to play, and unfortunately Amid is the one to pay the price.
Yeah, I mean, Stridebreaker just means that it's so difficult to get away from the Aatrox, especially when he's moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour at you. And on the Cloud Rift, once again, you know, this is going to be so difficult. Matstat and Free and Potatoes just continually winning this bot lane. You know, jungle intervention has not really been the reason as to why this is going as well as it is. Meanwhile, Ariri getting that flank that we were talking about earlier, but not going to be able to commit into too much. Matt's still free firing, and the potato does go down, but the AD carry stays alive, and that's the most important part.
Yes, and opposite side of the map, it's a Rift Herald picked up by the side of OVS. Bot lane tower might get traded out in that regard, with 3 members on this bottom side and only Matstat to try and protect it. Nonetheless, it is still a rather significant map lead and gold lead for the side of Oversoul Esports. Despite that, Lefrith needs to be careful about Amid, because Amid still does a boatload of damage.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for Amid, right, you know, this first strike on the Silas just will do 1,000,000,000 damage if you can get the first hit, right? But there's so much that's standing in the way, right? You know, there's Maokai saplings, there's Kog'Maw just throwing out a ton of damage every which way. The moment that Kog'Maw can finish a Runin's Hurricane is the moment this game ends. Right? I mean, that might be a Bork that's being picked up for the side of Matstat, which will allow him to do a ton of damage, which will allow him to stay alive for even longer. But right now, it's looking almost hopeless for the side of Art of War Esports unless they can get a pick. They need to group up. They need to go for these picks. They need to make something happen, because the longer this game goes, the more damage Kog'Maw's going to do, and the harder it's going to be to kill him.
And as this game moves forward as well, Kog'Maw just becomes a juggernaut. So difficult to take down once you get later onto that game. Kog'Maw will do the most damage in the game, no matter what, if you get to 4 or 5 items at that point. So despite the slower gameplay now coming through from Art of War, where they need to defend a little bit better, they can't. Because if you play slow, Kog'Maw just scales. If you play fast, you might just lose the game earlier than that, before the Kog'Maw even needs to scale. And now,
yeah, speaking of before, you know, tower going down before Shelly even gets a charge off, and gonna do so much damage to the next one. Oh, baby. You know, Shelly value. But right now, you know, all Art of War doing, you know, they're trying to play the lanes. They're trying to play the objective bounties. You know, Amid teleported into the top lane for a tower that was basically about to go down anyway, right? You know, you're trying to get some kind of bounty gold, but it's really just Matstat and Swifty on this dragon. You don't have to commit too many people. So right now, you're going to be able to get Limster. You're going to be able to get Lifrith. You're going to be able to get people in the lanes to deny the bounty gold in response here, while the Kog'Maw just walks up into mid lane. No, you know, nothing to worry about.
In this mid lane, finally, all 5 members of Art of War trying to take the battle to this tower. Unfortunately, no, not going to happen. Ultimate, though, on the side there, Limster going aggressive onto a mid. A mid's going to have to find a way out of this one because that is a beefy Malphite to deal with here. Swifty going to give chase as well. Forces out the hijacked unstoppable force from a mid. Half health. Not going to be too happy about that one, especially considering they did teleport up to that top side. And now, stun coming down onto Lifrith. No Darkened Blade proc's going to land. And they're just backing off.
Yeah, I mean, Lifrith essentially got stunned up, took a full combo, and man has lost less than an eighth of his health, right? You know, like, it's so difficult right now for the side of Ardor Esports. They have to look to find some way in. You know, look for those item breakpoints. Ariri with the Futures Market going to be able to pick up an important item right now. Let's see. Why is Ariri in debt? What has he picked up here?
Evan Shroud, I think.
I'm almost certain it was a health crystal.
It might have been the control wards.
It might have been the control wards. But, you know, I mean, vision definitely something that you want to be looking for, especially when you're looking to make these picks, right? But right now, you know, 2K gold lead, that just feels insurmountable, you know, especially when you're playing the team that is supposed to be winning these early games, right? You know, Lifrith is going to continue to push these side lanes. Limster also going to push these while a mid fires off in response.
I think another major thing to point out is just this Pantheon hasn't gotten value. This Pantheon has been stuck in a side lane this entire game. The one ultimate they were able to get off, it was okay. But apart from that, it's been Trollsing just sort of removed from game. And that is a major factor in how the next little bit is going to go, because Trollsing needs to either get stronger to be in those side lanes and contest the likes of Lifrith and Limster, or just join the fight first and get there before they're able to group up, get there before these teleports are able to get channeled through, and then find your win before these massive solo laners from the side of Oversoul Esports are able to get in there. Nonetheless, they're sort of trapped right now. They're stuck. They don't really have the win conditions set up for them. Maybe that comes when with Xayah with 2 items, maybe that's your win condition. The Rabadon's now very close to being completed on a mid as well. That could be a win condition as well, but you haven't been able to find fights on your own terms. They've always been brought to you, and it's a matter of whether you win or lose from there. Starting the fights off with Rel are significantly better than trying to counter-engage with her a lot of the times as well, especially considering the comp that you're playing with.
Yeah, but, you know, Freedom Potatoes has been playing so well around Ariri's engages, essentially able to cancel each and every single one of them. You know, Matsat, this is the Kog'Maw that we've been worried about, right? Just continuing to farm up, continuing to get all the gold it is that he could ever desire. That Bork fully completed now means that Kog'Maw is a monster to deal with, and once the Runaan's Hurricane is finished, the game ends. Meanwhile, a mid's game might be ending pretty soon. Has to pick up the Unstoppable Force in order to get out, but right now, Trollsing you in a lot of trouble. Oh my lord.
Yeah, Aatrox does a lot of damage, especially when you get extra attack speed from that Stride Breaker. It's going to be a pick up on the bottom side, and now Baron immediately started up. Something to note, 2-item Kog'Maw shreds this. Like, it's going to be going down quite quickly here. There's only 3 members on it, a mid. But that's not the fight you were looking for. There's Matstat collects another one up. Ariri on the side. That is not the flank you're looking for either. Your princess is in another castle. Unfortunately, the castle is very far away from this Baron, or at least as far away as possible. Freedom Potatoes is willing to sack their life for this one as well, just to play Disturbance here. Half HP on this Baron as Matstat Swifty keep working away at it. Limster still trying to find a way in. Music Boy isn't even interested in going for this. It is a steal or nothing here. Crims, though, closer to that pit. It's down to 2,500. Got to keep an eye on that damage. Crims taking enough damage. They're not even going to survive to get the Smite steal. It's Freedom Potatoes cleaning that one up. It's a good thing, too, because that Smite was terrible from Swifty. It didn't come through. Nonetheless,
yeah, I mean, Swifty never even tried to smite. You know, he already has so much faith in his teams. You know what? I don't need to smite this. We're just gonna save this one straight up for Dragon. But like you said that Freedom Potatoes was gonna give his life to try to deny the steal attempt. Freedom Potatoes was tanking 1v2 as the support. All he's got is an even shroud. This game is going from bad to worse. AWE just cannot do anything. The Baron down, the Dragon down, their health bars down, their morale down, and right now there is going to be a Riri going down. The heart and soul of AWE Esports ripped out and still bleeding as Matstat walks in with the Kog'Maw, just able to do so much damage in the back but it's so much damage onto Free Potatoes in response here. Are they finally gonna get the support? Yes, they do. Everyone going back, going to make sure that this is not the end of the game just yet, but there it is. The start of the most important items for Kog'Maw. Like I said, the moment that Runan's Hurricane is finished, the game ends.
And something to note as well is it's into 4 melees. So it's just allowed to get free damage down while this front line of the Aatrox, the Trundle, the front line of everyone stands in front of Matstat while he sits there and auto attacks. And that's the goal in a lot of these situations for Kog'Maw. The less you have to kite, the better. So as you mentioned, that Runans is going to come through in spades. If Runans doesn't end the game, it's very likely the Titanic Hydra that comes afterwards. And that's even more difficult to deal with. So nonetheless, very difficult situation for Art of War Esports. What's their path back?
Yeah, I mean, right now, your only real path is you have to get some picks, right? You have a phenomenal composition to do it with. You have a mid on the Silas able to just lock someone down. You have the Sejuani with 4 melees, as we were talking about, that should have the ability to get someone. It's just, do you do enough damage to actually take out one of these meatballs? I don't know, but Crim's definitely taking a lot of damage despite being a meatball. Oh, baby. Swifty is hungry and the team is ready to eat. Limpster, Free Potatoes, Swifty, and Lifrith all in the top side, leaving the Kog'Maw alone. But right now, it's not the Kog'Maw you have to be worried about. It's the 3 meatballs eating up your top lane.
Yeah, just the whole plate of spaghetti and meatballs is on that top side, looking for even more. Grand Starfall going to come into that back line. But once again, it's into 4 front lines. The damage might not be there as Matstat actually taken out by mid on the opposite side. But look at this. Aatrox is here. Swifty finds 2. Ariri going to be next to fall. Trollsing trying to stay alive for everything that they're worth. It's a triple kill picked up for Swifty. It's a quadra kill picked up for Swifty. Are we going to see a Trundle Penta in this game of League of Legends? Absolutely. It is on the table. He's looking for it. A mid getting chased down. It's a pentakill for the Trundle. What? What is going on?
Lord.
I've never seen that before.
And this is something that we've been talking about the entire game. We've been talking up Matstat, saying the moment the Runan's Hurricane is finished, it ends. But instead, Swifty, who never smited the Baron earlier, going to end the game with a smite for a Penta. And here it is, over Soul Esports, taking it over Art of War for sole possession of first place.
I, for one, accept their new overlords in FOF here as they finally get themselves up to the pinnacle of the league. What a way to end it. When's the last time
to end it?
When's the last time you've seen a Trundle Penta? I've never seen one. That's the first time I've ever seen.
Honestly, the last time I saw a Trundle Penta, it was a full AD Trundle. But no, Swifty was building tank, right? Swifty had 3 items and one of them was an Anathema's Chains.
Yeah, it's a interesting turnout there. Of course, the stats can't even begin to describe how this game went because they just can't describe how any of the game went at that. Nonetheless, incredible stuff coming through from Oversoul Esports here. Fantastic way to close it all out, of course, with that Trundle Penta. And for Art of War Esports, once again, eclipsed out from finishing the week at first place overall. And it feels like it's been a story of the season, a story of seasons past for the side of Art of War Esports. This could be their nemesis of the season where they just can't solve them.
Maybe. But, final season of FOF, and final chance for Riri to get that first place that has been eluding him for so long. But either way, only time will tell how things go. So, you'll have to catch things next week. But if you did miss out on this week, go ahead and check out our FOF Connect. If you missed out on Super Week, the FOF Connect for this week has been quite nice. So, I would highly, highly recommend. Either way, we're finally going to be able to see some damage to champions. But yeah, that's a lot of damage dealt.
Oh, okay, there we go. The Malphite still did the most damage to champions.
I mean, when you're when you got
Maokai did more
tons of
damage.
AoE, when you got tons of AoE and you're constantly in the middle of the enemy team because you're a big meatball and everyone wants a piece of you, you're gonna be able to hit quite a few people. But either way, that'll be all for this week. Sorry about the reduced amount of games, but sometimes that is how it is.
Yeah, we will all see you next week when we get our second last week. Can I count? I think it's our second last week of games. Nonetheless,
It's okay. I have no idea how many more we
I
have.
think it's the second last week of regular season games as the playoff push continues. As for both of us here, as well as our producer, Sherigan, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Mm-hmm. Right.